With the first pick of the second round, the Phoenix Suns take Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. Originally, the pick belonged to Minnesota. A bunch of teams are trying to trade up for Fleming. He was a guy who some mocks had him in the lottery. I know our friends over at No Ceilings were very high on him. He was someone who I would have taken early 20s. Just loved evaluating him throughout the scouting report process that we did for the videos on the channel. To me, it's just the versatile defense. It's the fact that he's still just 20 as a junior. The jumper is coming along. It's not pretty, but there is something there. But the sell with it more so is the hustle plays, the rebounding, the way he can guard in one-on-one situations and function as a help side defender as well with the long wingspan and the instincts and everything. I think for Phoenix, this is a home run when you look at a team who is not really full rebuild, but needs a lot of help, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Dion, what do you make of this one?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting pick. Last year you shot 39% from three on 4.5 attempts. That's obviously something that you like in a guy. I mean, we did this as your Coward video, and you proclaimed you would rather have Fleming than Coward. I couldn't disagree more. I think his jumper's funky. I think his lateral movement is suspect, and I'm very curious how that's going to transition to the NBA level. But on paper, I mean, like you said, 39% three-point shooter who can defend. Your ability to get him at 31, I think is great. Obviously, the Suns had to move up to get this done too. Um, I, Overall, I'm impressed with what the Suns are doing following the KD trade. I don't, yeah, I don't think the KD trade was great. I don't think the corner they backed themselves into with Kevin Durant was great. Kind of like at the deadline, they kind of turned down a few trade requests because he didn't want it.
Sorry, Dion, I accidentally pressed stopped on the on the Zoom record. But what were you saying about the Suns and the KD trade?
Yeah, it was an amateur hour on our part. We are great value, G and Cart. You're gonna have to deal with some stuff. It is what it is. Like you're not getting, the A team is in New York doing their thing. You're getting the B squad a little bit. He isn't perfect, you know what I mean? So things happen. But like I was saying, I don't love the KD trade. I felt like they backed themselves in a corner, let him call his shot. All things considered, they were able to get the 10th pick. They got Dylan Brooks, who I actually do think he will contribute next to Devin Booker. And they got Jalen Green, who I don't like at all.
You
But
think
they
you
did
think
get a
Dylan
young.
Brooks is going to contribute?
I think Dylan Brooks. I think he contributed in Houston. I think Dylan Brooks gets a bad rap because he unnecessarily says stuff that fires up the other team's best players when he just doesn't need to. But I do think Dylan Brooks, like, ultimately is a 3 and D guy, and that's one of the more valuable things that you can bring at the NBA level. So, I mean, being able to get him a salary filler, there's not too much better salary filler in the league. I mean, Memphis got KCP as filler for Dame. I really don't see a huge difference between KCP and Dylan, to be honest with you. Honestly, I think Dylan might even have a little bit more value because he can guard guards, but also bigs because of his
Hmm.
size. So I don't like Jalen Green. The 10th pick, being able to turn that into man-man. But if you told me, hey, you got Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and man-man for KD, I don't love that. But your your subsequent moves, I like Mark Williams. That's a good swing for the fences. I do like the pick and man. I think that's another good swing for the fences. And now Rasheer Fleming, where it's like if he's truly a 39% three-point shooter and a good defender, I don't think you got enough assets for KD to compete right now, but I do believe you're setting yourself up to be able to make another big swing.
I think that's a lot of good perspective on how to frame it, and even remind just throw in a reminder with Brooks is the caliber of player that we see as salary filler. To your greater point about the Malawach selection, to trading for Mark Williams, to now drafting Fleming, the Suns were 27th last season in defensive efficiency, as in like points points per 100 possessions surrender. They were 27th in the league in that, and this seems like a concerted effort to get better at that immediately. I don't know how quickly they start to see the dividends from that, but you got to think within the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see a huge spike, at least on the interior. And to me, a player like Fleming, I know Sun fans are still up in arms about trading Tumani Kamara away 2 years ago, who just blossomed into one of the best wing defenders in the NBA, really good at the point of attack, has elite tools, and has put it together just his second year in the league, making the all defense second team this year. Fleming kind of makes up for that. And I know you're not as high on his lateral mobility as I am. Maybe a full on atonement for that is a bridge too far because we got to see it before we, fully excuse them of that blunder. But I see the vision here to at least get a similar type of player, a similar archetype in what Fleming could be defensively. I just think his like I don't question his lateral mobility. I watched him switch on to guards in the non-con when St. Joe's was playing better competition. He did it in the A10. People couldn't score when he was guarding them. I know. Laugh at the A10. That is a knock. But I mean, we're talking about Tumani Kamara. You know where he played, Dion? He played at Dayton in the A10. Like that, there are some similarities here that you can work with, and the sell for me too, beyond just the physical tools and the production so far. I already said at the top, but just 20 years old, a bit of a late bloomer. He played on the same high school team as DJ Wagner and Aaron Bradshaw. Crazy that he's the first to make it to the league out of that trio. Like those were two top 10 recruits in the class of 2023, and here we are with Fleming. Like I love that it shows the work ethic to where St. Joe's was by far and away the best offer he had. It was, outside of that, it was like CAA and MAC schools. And now here we are, essentially a first round pick. Great chance to crack the rotation right away in Phoenix. Home run, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't hate it by any means. But I think it is I'm just gonna be honest, it is fairly ridiculous to claim that they figured it out by after trading a second team all defense guy. And I get the similarities in like the lower schools, but I think the big problem here is that they Tumani Kamara has blossomed in the NBA in a way no one expected. Like the Kamara trade wasn't bad. Also, trading Rasheer Fleming away isn't that bad in my opinion. Like I don't think you're building rosters around second round picks the way that Portland is kind of building a roster around Kamara to an extent. Like that's not normal. That'd be like, Draymond Green always has 34 or 30, every so and so teams like passed on me. Yeah, so did the Warriors. You know what I mean? Like so the Warriors. They passed on you twice actually. They took Festus Ezeli and Harrison Barnes and then just took you. Like second round picks aren't guys that you expect to become what Kamara was.
Mhm.
So I don't think there's any atonement. I also don't necessarily think like I would personally like bash the Suns for trading Kamara. It looks bad in hindsight, but it is what it is, man. Like it is what it is. You trade second round picks a lot, and sometimes you trade good second round picks, and more often than not, you trade second round picks no one even knows you traded.
Which was kind of true that evening. It is a bit of revisionist history to act like it was some blunder now. I know Sun fans will get in the weeds more of like all the picks and the assets. We don't have time for that. I just know Rasheer Fleming is nice with it, and I'm sticking by it. Suns, you got a good one.